This is the BreadWinner Podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, influencer, and sales wolf, Tyler Harris, bringing you the insights from the most successful forward-thinking entrepreneurs and influencers, so that you can rise to the top and make more dough.
Now, let's get into the show.
What's up, everybody? This is the BreadWinner Podcast. I am your host, Tyler Harris, and I have got a guest here named Jordan French, and literally just walks up, and the way Law of Attraction works is we start talking about different things we're doing, and all of a sudden these mutual relationships, mutual contacts, and just everything just starts coming out. We're like, hey, we need to sit down and actually hit record. So for those of you that have seen the last two podcasts that we're going to be putting up here, we're literally like out on the streets in Brickell right now in downtown Miami at a restaurant called Pilo's Tacos. We just got out of the Agent 2021 event with Gary Vaynerchuk. Just doing some live podcasts just on the spot, literally out here on the street. So you're going to hear some background noise. You're going to hear a train go by or two. But wanted to bring on Jordan French and just talk about a little bit about what he does. And then we're just going to jam back and forth. And the goal is to provide you guys value as the breadwinners. So Jordan, tell everybody just a little bit about, who in the world are you? What are you doing here for the event? And then what do you do back home?
Yeah, definitely. And Tyler, first want to say thanks for having me. Appreciate your description. It is a beautiful night, everyone. It is a lot warmer here than in New York. Left a couple cold days ago is how I'd best describe it. But yeah, for those of you out there who don't know me, I am a tech reporter, editorial staff at TheStreet.com, mostly a financial publication. But I am on the crypto beat. Covered a lot of cryptocurrency, blockchain, follow around the SEC. Here, really wild year. I know Tyler and I will touch on that a little bit later. I'm also an entrepreneur, so started a couple of different companies. I started out as an engineer, turned attorney. You're all, if you're American citizens, were my client at one point. I was in those people versus cases at the Energy Commission, known as FERC colloquially in Washington, D.C., way back. A different life for me. Some of you who do know my entrepreneur career probably know me from BHEX, the NASA-originated startup known for 3D printed pizza for astronauts. I'll touch on that one too, Tyler. Got a lot to talk about.
So let's just stop right there. Let's just stop right there. All right, so 3D printed pizzas for astronauts. Let's just elaborate on that just a little bit to give some people some context, and then I'll even come up with what kind of question that I can even ask that surrounds that topic. So tell a little bit about like what in the world, how did that come about?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that note. So everyone's really interested in space. Most of us are. I was when I was a young kid, and as an engineer, once in a while I get an opportunity to work on a project or two. So my start with NASA was with a program called Mars Gravity Biosatellite. It was part of a broader initiative called the Mars Initiative. And basically the narrative went like this. NASA saw Earth as, not necessarily a long-term strategy or wrecking the place. And we might need a backup plan, and Mars was an obvious choice. It's not terribly far away. A couple steps we needed to take to get there. One of the first projects I worked on was Mars Gravity, like I said. And what we looked at was mice sent into space and looked at their bone loss rate. So one of the things that happens in space is really fascinating, Tyler. It's a microgravity environment, low gravity. So you lose bone. You get basically osteoporosis. And from our findings from that project, we learned you don't want to bring anyone back. So this would be a one-way street to Mars. If we're going to send humans there, don't bring them back. If you do bring them back, just like the mice, they crumple. Well, a later problem developed. A couple years later, NASA put out an RFP, that's a request for proposals for all you don't know about that term. And what they wanted to solve was, look, we got a long trip ahead of us on the spacecraft, Tyler. How are we going to feed them? And my God, when we get to Mars, what are they going to eat? So a young engineer, really sharp guy, now, a virtual tech celebrity, a guy named Anjing Contractor, yes, that's his real last name, Contractor, proposed a 3D printing system. Got a patent on it. A couple years later, after that, under a lot of development, won a grant and started recruiting people who had a good background that would be a good fit for this project, and labeled it BHEX. Its company's still out there. So what BHEX does, build 3D printing systems, so you could picture a robot, much like an extruder, like multiple nozzles, and they basically spray out, extrude, or place food. So one of the things that we did that was really popularized in the media was pizza. And the reason why it was popularized is pretty simple and really accessible. Everybody eats pizza. In fact, with our research there, it's something 90% of Americans ate pizza at least once a month. I know I'm counted within those statistics, that's for sure, and it's really, Tyler, it's a global phenomenon. I'm sure you also dine on this popular Italian cuisine. As you can imagine, not only media was excited, but a lot of chefs. So we were so lucky. Had a chance to meet up with one of New York's top pizza chef, Pasquale Cozzolino, big name now, Chef Ron Duprat, a couple of other chefs, Michael Voltaggio, winner of Top Chef Season 6. A lot of people got in on it, were very supportive. To give you an idea of what BHEX actually does, so it's personalized nutrition, which is an exciting space. I know a lot of Tyler's audience, exercise and health is important. I know it's important to Tyler too. But you can imagine, Tyler and the rest of us all run off the fields after intense workout. We burn vitamins and minerals and other things at different rates. A device, much like a Fitbit device, could tell us what that loss is. And you might burn B1, I might burn B2 at different rates. Well, that's a computer. And attached to a 3D printer, it's just a computer. That's what that robot is. Those computers can communicate with each other, right? So now you can get personalized recovery bars, and voila. That's why BHEX today is a military contractor. Its biggest client is U.S. Army. A lot of the prospective or possible use cases, Tyler, for that technology now, other than the obvious space, which is one hell of an interesting market, is for bases. So instead of your MRUs, you'll have your medic, and you'll have your food guide. And you'll say, hey, what do you want? And you'll get something personalized according to your nutritional needs. So unpack that one for you.
I love this moment right now. This is the most incredible thing ever. And what I also love is like U-turn transitions. And we're just going to go completely into a different subject because I have nothing to add value to that conversation. But it was incredible. But I want to talk about crypto. It's something that I don't have a lot of knowledge in, but I'm imagining if you're reporting on it, you are probably very busy. So talk a little bit about that. Like, talk a little bit about like the average person that's listening to this that has a general understanding. What are you doing on a daily basis to report all the just chaos of volatility and misunderstanding and miseducation and just ignorance to the entire blockchain technology? How in the world are you reporting that? Are you reporting it to a certain level of person as far as their base knowledge, or are you reporting to people and trying to educate? Like, that seems like an impossibility. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Tyler, if you can print pizza in space, nothing's impossible.
Best answer ever.
So one of the things we talked about earlier, I am on the editorial staff. I'm at thestreet.com. For those of you who don't know about The Street, pretty big financial publication in the cohorts of Investopedia, Seeking Alpha, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, in that league. Jim Cramer is one of the founders. A lot of people know that name. So one of the things I cover, besides a lot of editing work, is cryptocurrency. There's a few of us that do it and report on it. It is one heck of a market. So it's not unprecedented, but it is really rare that a whole new asset class comes to fruition, and that's exactly what's happened here. The entire cryptocurrency market is enveloped in a technology that's called the blockchain. So to break it down for everyone, one thing to always think about when you're starting to do your own due diligence in this market is to understand what that underlying technology is. And the main thing, if you take nothing else away from this concept of the blockchain, what it refers to at its heart is a distributed ledger of independently verifiable transactions. And why that's important is because what we rely on today in most financial markets is third-party clearing houses. Common third-party clearing houses, practically all of us are connected to it, even the bankless. And that's a cash system, right? So we have a fiat currency. It's not tied to any particular underlying value or a commodity, for example. For a lot of those who don't know, the U.S. dollar used to be on the gold standard. Well, that was removed a few decades ago. And it's "In God We Trust" printed right on there, and you can take that quite literally. Most currencies, whether you're euro, dollars, pesos, or U.S. dollars, institutions much like the Treasury or Federal Reserve have license to print that. And deflation is a very real risk. It's a very real concern. Beyond that, though, as a transactional tool, it's very difficult to verify a given transaction. So typically, we rely on banks as intermediaries, third parties, often attorneys and trusts, to independently verify and clear transactions. Well, if you place this on, let's unpack the blockchain term, right? What that refers to is that ledger, right? And that ledger is digitized. So there's always a record. And much like a sequence, right, where you can follow and track each transaction, and what I'm referring to is each token or coin. It's title, right? It's title, who it goes to. So person A, then person B, and person Z. And as Tyler knows, very methodologically, you can see exactly who owned it at one point. So that is an important kind of takeaway, right? And is a lot of the driver is that behind the valuations that you see is that uncertainty that plays in this market and a potential for that adoption curve. Because if you think about a digital currency, there are a lot more features besides transaction certainty that you can add to it. And that's what we're seeing when you hear about these various tokens out there and currencies. What they each have are varying and different properties based off certain technology that allow for example, faster or slower transactions, or certain verifications, or certain particular uses for certain markets that lend themselves well for transactions between transportation companies or goods companies, and that's what drives it. So, for those of you that are interested, in investing in cryptocurrencies, and looking at it as an asset class, it's a really good place to start. Is try to understand and get your head around, what is that technology that's driving that coin or token, and make sure it's something that aligns with something that you understand. Otherwise, we're in for a wild ride. 2018 is going to be a lot of fun. So one of the things that I do, formerly an attorney, like I mentioned to Tyler just before this podcast, so that's why I'm on this beat. Part of that reason I'm on this beat is because the SEC is going to be very active this year. The Securities and Exchange Commission, under their regulatory scheme, is cryptocurrencies. We'll see a lot of excitement this year, Tyler, on the regulatory side.
So, man, I really appreciate you giving that explanation. Number one, because I'm in life insurance sales. That's my day-to-day. And to explain to somebody what a life insurance policy would make me want to shoot myself in the face. And you just did that so eloquently. It was perfect. I kind of felt like it was like, you're familiar with JP Sears. Your personality is so perfect for what you do. But I'm thinking of those that video that you did on Bitcoin. I'm thinking of have you seen the video that JP did on Bitcoin? It's incredible. For those of you that haven't seen it, you should see it. But he literally, so Jordan just told you, that's the nuts and bolts of it. And I'm so glad you did that, because there's so many people out there that, and I'm guilty of it myself, that hate on it. And make fun of everybody because everyone that puts $1 into it becomes this guru in it and wants to tell everybody why there's idiots for not being in it. And so I kind of hated on it for that fact, but you just broke it down in a very, very simple way that at least the people that are watching this or listening to this are going to be like, I actually generally understand like the concept now. It seems a little bit legit. Like, let me do a little bit more research. But where would they go to get more research on that? Someone that's still at that base level. Like, what's the best place to go to find that research?
Oh, yeah, and it's a great question. So first, I'm going to plug the street. Feel free to take a look at what we're doing. I'm Jordan French. I have a column there. I feel they're phenomenal writers there. We do a lot of crypto coverage on kind of all ends of the spectrum, from new ICOs with these currency offerings, and a lot of the regulatory beat, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of what the SEC's actions are, and trying to unpack and shed some light on to what degree they'll get involved or step in or help start to shape this market. A lot of pieces in play. So it's a really good point. I think for most people, where you'll see this play out, it is an asset class. I think what we're seeing now and we'll continue to see, it'll behave much like storage commodity or precious metals. It will behave like gold. I think there's a lot of anticipation that this will turn into a hyper-transactional tool. We do see some of that. You hear these stories about someone using Bitcoin a few years ago to buy some pizzas, and that pizza shop owner right now is a multimillionaire. That's true. Can verify a lot of these stories. There are some people who are hilariously rich, but it's a really small group. A lot of people were on this pretty early. It's very common in new technologies where you see early founders and really early adopters, do really well. That said, this is not necessarily a need, right? It's not something that you need to get into. We're not seeing anything on the immediate or even intermediate term horizon where there's going to be a wholesale shift. I think just like most media, especially where you can use a tool to pay for something, it'll augment, meaning kind of add to opportunities or avenues for which to pay. I think there'll be certainly some circumstances where we all will be exchanging some Bitcoin. In a lot of cases, we'll be using it as a store of value, where gold and precious metals, often with a physical component, that can be a lot more difficult to do. That said, this is not going to likely, certainly anytime soon, take over our lives. The other thing I'll add too, Tyler, is, and Warren Buffett was the first to say this, so he deserves the credit for it. A lot of dynamism in any market, like high price appreciation, attracts a lot of eyeballs. Certainly that lends itself to a lot of readership at the street and elsewhere on cryptocurrency, on blockchain topics. That said, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good investment. And there are some real concerns that I have, and a lot of others who report on it, and a lot of academia have about some of the tokens and coins that are out there. So you're going to want to be careful, and for those who invest, if you're in real estate, if you're operating your own business, if you've done really well with equities, this is another just opportunity. It's something to certainly look into, but there's no real need at all to completely wholesale shift your strategy. If something's already working for you.
So if there's one piece of advice that I could give you guys that are listening to this, it is go to the street, go to someone that knows what they're talking about. Please do not take advice from your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving that's telling you you're an idiot because you have invested in this particular coin. Like, please just go do some research. And not from your friend that's never been successful in any investment that they've ever done in their entire life, that now is a multi-millionaire, or so they say. But get some real research. So go to the street, look up Jordan's column, and get some information from someone who obviously knows what he's talking about. Last thing I want to talk about, all good things come in threes. So we've got 3D pizzas, we've got cryptocurrency coverage. So what is the third thing that you do, you've done, report on, that would be interesting to the people that are listening?
Thanks for that, Tyler. I still do a lot of emerging tech consulting. There's a lot of fascinating companies out there. So I'm a little bit of a klutz. I know once in a while we all spill things on ourselves, and heck, just like Ludacris said maybe 15 years ago, get back. People spill stuff on you all the time, right? There's a company now called Repel Fabrics doing some really fascinating work. You could see how I would be involved in this story. They make stain-proof, spill-proof fabrics. It's a little different. So we all know about polyesters out there that are stain-resistant and so on. This team's done a wonderful job with cashmere, soft cottons, literally everyday wear. Even this stuff, like Tyler's got an awesome-looking vest on, white shirt. If you spilled some wine or coffee on that, you better bet that's going to be a problem for him. He's wearing Repel. It'd be a little bit different situation. What I'm going to do and offer Tyler is Sim Galati, CEO of Repel. We're going to get him on the show, have a chat, maybe do some experimentation at some point, splash some coffee or wine around and see what happens. But certainly my clients, they do some of the most fascinating stuff. But I do a lot of emerging tech consulting too. It's a wild ride, and worst case, Tyler, if you're gonna wear it or eat it, at least you're going home with something and a shirt on your back, no pun intended.
So we're going to get together and we're going to make some 3D pizzas, and then we're going to throw them on each other, and we're going to report to you live again from the streets of Miami, maybe, or streets of New York, maybe, and let you know what happens. Dude, this has been incredible. This is so awesome. This is like the world, the universe conspires in very, very interesting ways, and I'm becoming more and more and more aware of that. If you put good stuff out, random people will show up and say good things. But man, I appreciate you being on here. I appreciate you taking the time. Tell everybody where they can find you online. Maybe give them the website again for the for the street, which is easy because I just said it. But where can they find you online? Social media, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Facebook, First Result, Instagram. I'm on all channels. Jordan French. That's Jordan. French, French. You want to check out some of the other projects, interesting projects I've been involved in? JordanFrench.org. That's JordanFrench.org. Check it out. Follow my writing. Until next time.
Appreciate that, brother. And with that, this is the BreadWinner Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the BreadWinner Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating on iTunes. For a chance to be on the show, send a screenshot of your iTunes rating to @TylerHarris page on Instagram, where he'll pick one person every single week. See you next time on the BreadWinner Podcast.